Good afternoon, folks. My name is Amir Rafat. I'm the product manager here at SystemAir, primarily focused on the classroom unit, the classroom air handling unit, as we like to call it. We got two of our biggest items, air handling unit products that we're going to present to you today. So we got a lot to cover. So I apologize if I talk too fast, or if I it's not death by PowerPoint, trust me, but there's a lot to cover in terms of knowledge. So we're just going to try to present as best we can and try to cover it. So again, I'm the presenter. I'm a mechanical engineer by schooling, by education, 12 years in the HVAC industry here in North America. 4 of those are in a custom air handling manufacturer role. We did a lot of on Binney Street in the Boston area, and worldwide humidification leader. That was my next role as a PM. And now I've been in the last 4 years as a product manager at SystemAir, covering the classroom air handling units. And of course, if any of you guys are going to ASHRAE, we'll see each other there. So we got a busy schedule, so we're just going to talk about sound, right? When the units are placed, our units are placed in a classroom space, so sound is at the forefront of our R&D and of all the testing and AMCAR accreditation like we're going to talk about. So it's important to get just an overview of the science of sound. Then we're going to see some school applications, right? What constitutes of the design of the sophomore versus the freshman, and then we're going to talk about maintenance, and which is another key unique feature that we have. Just to start, SystemAir North America, we have 3 main factories. SystemAir was founded actually in 1974 in Sweden. We're actually on the Nordic stock exchange, and Swedish NASDAQ. We have 3 facilities here in North America. Boctouche, which primarily deals with residential ERVs and HRVs. Tillsonburg, Ontario, that's 2 hours west of Toronto, and that is dealing with the products Jared and I cover, the Geniox and the Changeair classroom unit. And then Lenexa, Kansas facility, which deals with our jet fans and our commercial and residential fans. We started primarily as a fan company, but then we've morphed, and our biggest selling products in the SystemAir group is our air handling line, and that's global. Tillsonburg, Ontario is where we manufacture these items, 127,000 square foot of space. We have thermodynamics lab, about 160 employees, and it was founded in 1987. In 2012, Changeair was bought by SystemAir. That's where we became part of the SystemAir family. So IQ, when you ever hear the word IQ, that's our intelligently quiet sound package, right? This thing has been rigorously tested to give the, whisper quiet is an overstatement. This thing is so beyond whisper quiet, you barely hear it when you apply our intelligently quiet package with our design solutions. So very important to note is sound power versus sound pressure, right? Sound power is what we call as the root cause of the sound, right? And sound pressure is the effect, right, it has on it. So it's calculated from sound power. The sound pressure is calculated from sound power, which varies as a relationship to distance. The equivalent is of saying the electrical power is the cause of heat, and the temperature is the effect, again, depending on the room conditions, how far you are, etc. So it's super important when we deal with sound that we look at sound power when judging the room. And you're going to see with our solution, we can give you the raw sound power. So any acoustical consultant or acoustical engineer can go in and help make sure that class is as quiet as it can be or should be. So dBA, how we measure it, a lot of us are engineers on this call. Decibel is the standard of sound, standard unit. dBA is A-weighted, right, for the human ear. And then there's different things as well. So ASHRAE in the refrigerator fundamentals and HVAC application handbook talk about NC, noise criteria. What noise criteria is, it's a single number, noise level target. And it's so you're not dealing with the different frequencies and different decibels and different ranges. It's just a single number that you could apply, right, to a HVAC equipment, for example. There's also RC, which is room criteria. That's more for troubleshooting. So what we did was we took our Changeair unit and we started developing this with in California, because they had a very low threshold for sound. So we worked on 3 main standards for sound. First was AHRI 260, right? And what that talks about is the ducted air moving in a conditioning equipment, how to measure equipment for ducted air movement. right? So we adhere to AHRI 260. AMCA 300, this is the big beast here. AMCA 300 talks about our sound lab is designed and equipped to perform testing in accordance to an AMCA standard lab. So what we did is in Lenexa, Kansas, we actually have an AMCA accredited standard 300 certified lab. And every year the AMCA group comes in and certifies that. So we know their data is right. On top of that, we took our equipment and we measured it in that AMCA lab. So it's a reverberant chamber, right? So it's not one of those sound booths you place an equipment in and then the sound is absorbed by those, fuzzy cones. What it is it's the worst case scenario. So all the sound is bouncing all over the place in that room. So we actually tested our units there. So you know exactly the sound that you're getting. And on top of that, then we finalize it with our equipment is tested to ANSI ASA standard S12.60, which is acoustical performance, and it's essentially the guidelines of how to develop for acoustical for classrooms, right? And what that is, it puts limit of 35 NC 35 limits are there. The 9 foot by 9 foot by 30 foot classroom standard is there, again as standard, and all the conditions you needed to build the ultimate acoustical for the classroom. So the background noise is strict 35 decibels, right? And then as you can see, that student in the back, that sound of the teacher speaking is just going to get blurred out, and slower and lower, again, depending on the equipment you have. But if your equipment is designed correctly, then there is no issue, right? It's just it's a matter of the teacher. So again, engineers will tell you what sound power is all you need. It's an acoustic, it's a single, it's the sound power, the raw sound power. You can gauge that classroom accordingly. An acoustic engineer can apply it to the current room he is measuring, right? And it changes, right? If you have a classroom with concrete flooring, or insulated acoustical panels on the top of the roof, or fuzzy, shaggy carpet, right? All that changes the acoustics of the classroom, right? NC is a good number for specifications to be written around simply because it is a single number and simple. Another good thing to keep in mind is approximately 5 decibel increase in sound levels equates to about twice as loud. So what we developed is our freshman series, and if you apply the IQ package to it, you could get NC 30. So this freshman unit does not have a compressor in it. We're going to show you later how with a compressor, a package unit, you can even get NC 35. But this unit, in particular, this freshman, you could have it with hot water, hydronic, chilled water, hydronic, etc. Has the AMCA label, as you see right there at the bottom left. The AMCA certified rating says that this unit is certified, accredited with AMCA to perform at this sound level in an AMCA accredited chamber. We have the data to back that up, and we can provide it for any job when it's being in design. So let's jump into the school market now. What's important to note right now for the school market is there's huge government rebates, right? We're a classroom leader, quietest units in North America, comfortable and health-focused solutions, right? Because that's the goal. The end goal is to provide the best indoor air quality and indoor environment for our students so they could learn and perform optimally. Easy to select, easy to maintain and install. So let's get through it. Again, the classroom application we typically favor or cater to is K-12 and its renovation work. Doesn't mean this can't be applied to new school builds. It doesn't mean, we've seen these designed for daycares, libraries, senior residents, even a prison or two have taken one of these units for their prison. So all units come with EC motors for their fans. They're all on frame construction, 16-gauge solid steel frame with outer 18-gauge powder-coated outer skins. Right, all the coils are there. Everything's at face, face level, filters, the electrical box, etc. And you get an insulation. Again, just more graphics here to show you how it's done. They're always installed on the outside wall, so you need a louver ideally, as well as a wall sleeve, which we could provide the louver and the wall sleeve. And then ideally, the best way to design these or install these is ducted, right? This helps mitigate sound. So it's our preferred method. We also offer a whole slew of accessories to finish or complement the look of your unit ventilator in the classroom. The next slide here just shows a traditional horizontal kind of old school mounted unit ventilator, and then upgraded to the what I call the 21st century classroom air handler, the 21st century vertical unit ventilator, right? So the best thing is they just take the horizontal unit out and they put cabinetry, and then they duct from the top. And again, just some typical examples of classroom installations. You see it there, you see it there. When we calculate the square footage, it takes about 2% of the actual square footage of an average classroom. Louvers, right, complement the unit or are necessary, but we could change those to two main colors. You get a bronze finish and a gray finish. And let's get into the design. So the design is what exactly? It's two main series, the freshman, as we call it, without a compressor, and the sophomore with a compressor. They're both decentralized ventilation solutions, and we could provide anywhere between 800 to 1800 CFM. We could even push it a little bit higher with the larger size cabinet of the freshman. And then you get all these options and all these accessories to toy with. So what I'm going to show you next is a whole bunch of offering. And then keep in mind, this is all selectable in our software, and you can mix and match the items you need to get the exact tailor-made or configurable unit for your market, for your school board, for your climate zone. It's all adaptable. So you choose any of these electrical voltages. The cabinet size, we have about 4 sizes. Cooling and heating options, and they can be mixed and matched. Keep in mind though that the steam and the gas are modules that sit on top of this 91-inch high cabinet. And then you could have combo coils, DX, chilled water, and mix it with hot water, electric elements, etc. Fans are typically selected automatically via our software based on the CFM and the statics. And then you could have powered relief as well. If you have the energy recovery wheel, you have a condenser, an exhaust fan. And if you have the sophomore, you have condenser fans. And energy recovery wheel, our preferred option, or the one we see the most, is the energy recovery wheel. The cores are available as well, just not as, it's not a high seller. Controls, your options, you have DDC, you can just get the terminal strip, or you have a backnet controller that's tailor-made or suited for our units. So it modulates dampers, the fans, etc., in tandem with the CO2 levels of the classroom and the inside and outside temperatures. We overpressurize the room by about 10 to 20 CFM. So room interface, motion sensors, CO2, humidity, you can get a mix of these sensors or integrate it all into one, or mount it on our cabinet, or mount it on the wall of the classroom, shipped loose. As I mentioned before, all these accessories, everything you see here in this offering is available and selectable, readily available in our selection software. So we offer, if you do hydronic piping or hot water, chilled water, combo coil, you have your option to any piping you want. So you could have Y strainers, control valves integrated into the cabinet, and we do that with our piping department in-house. So all these units are demand control ventilations. They're decentralized ventilations where the fans are electronically commutated and they modulate with the dampers. So you get the best of comfort, temperature, airflow, optimized for sound and CO2 levels in the classroom. So each of the dampers has their own actuator and whether they are modulating. So for example, if you have 500 parts per million, we crack a bit open that outside air. If you have the energy recovery wheel, it goes through it just a bit. And then if we have 1,000 ppm of CO2, then we bring in that 450 CFM of air through the wheel, for example. The energy recovery wheel works with dual pressure transducers. We have 2 pressure transducer measuring the pressure across the wheel. You have a pressure transducer measuring pressure across the wheel, right? So it's to control a spline fan, an exhaust fan, and outside air damper modulator. So it works on a perfect algorithm. If you have, one last thing I'll mention on that slide, if you have the louver and the dual air paths, we provide that divider plate, or that divider plate is necessary to separate the 2 air streams. We call this our tilt-a-wheel design. What it is if you take the energy recovery wheel it modulates the whole wheel module, will rotate or modulate and then bring the air across it to economize. So all these units, whether it's a freshman or a sophomore, can do 100% economizer based on the supply CFM. Filtration, two main filters we offer, MERV 8 and MERV 13. Let's get into a bit more on the design of the compressorized units now. So before we were talking in general for both units, now we're just going to focus primarily on the sophomore unit. So the sophomore unit can be a packaged heat pump, or you could have a packaged air conditioner, so just cooling. You have your options of 2 to 5 tons. You can have the option of hot gas reheat. Energy recovery wheel, again, optional for those who need it. Electric heat can be your supplemental if you have a heat pump or your backup. Or you could choose hot water coil as your supplemental or your backup. And again, if those become the main heat sources, if you take the packaged AC option. So again, what does the sophomore series give you? It gives you the IQ sound package, the heat pump or DX cooling, 2-stage compressor, energy recovery wheel, optional, everything I just mentioned, the hot gas reheat for humidity control. So it's really a very tightly packaged system. Just showing you here just a typical airflow, right? This is returning from the classroom, and gets mixed through the wheel or exhausted, and then outside air intake. So you got a lot crammed into here, especially if you take, as I mentioned before, the hot gas reheat, the energy recovery wheel, the 5-ton compressor, etc., with extra backup heat if needed. Now, if you focus a bit more on the freshman non-compressorized design, the freshman is what we call our more flexible cabinet, just because it was the one that started our Changeair, and then there's been a lot added to it or can be modified to it. So it gives you the option to have straight ventilation mode, energy recovery wheel, you have a dehumidification version, and then you have DX coil with external condenser or VRF. So again, 4 main flavors. You could have face and bypass, with or without the energy recovery wheel, with or without powered relief. You can see the powered relief module at the bottom there. And then you have freshman IQ standard. So this one is flexible because with this unit, we can add VRF components to it. So if you give us your VRF components, whether it's Samsung, Daikin, Mitsubishi, LG, we like to call ourselves VRF agnostic, we can help mount the EEV kits or the LEV kits. You can mount your comm boxes into our unit, and then you have a really powerful solution because you have NC30, that AMCA certified air handling unit or AMCA certified classroom unit, plus the environmental or energy efficiency of the condensers, right, of the VRF. So you get the best of both worlds. And then all that needs to be done on site is, obviously wire the unit, but and then bring the refrigerant lines into the unit as well, because we would have installed the comm box and EV kits on site. Depending on the model of the manufacturer, we can include things such as the wheel, energy recovery wheel if you need it, etc., etc. Maintenance. Maintenance is really special here, big folks, because we put maintenance above everything's at eye level, or everything, sorry, is easily accessible in the cabinet. You have easy access to factory installed valve packages, right? Just hands reach away. If you need any shutoffs here, you've got isolation valves, manual circuit balancing valves here, just at a hand's reach away. You could access the coils, right? Your evap coil, condenser coils. You could slide this whole wheels, this whole fan module slides out. You just undo the wing nuts and just remove that wire, and then it slides out for easy maintenance in case you need to replace a motor or a fan. Same thing with the energy recovery wheel module. I'll show you a video where this whole section slides out so you can access all the actuators, filters, etc. The control panel right here is at the standard high level height. So you get all that right in front of your face. So slide a wheel. So we showed you before tilt-a-wheel, how it's used to economize. The slide-a wheel is the whole module slides out for easy maintenance. So I'll just show you a video right now. So right there, all you had to do to remove that was undo the wire harness, unscrew a couple of wing nuts, and that's it. You get access to all the filters. The filters are eye level anyways, but you could get access to the back of the energy recovery wheel module, any actuators in the back, any dampers in the back. If you need to change, there's a permanent washable filter down there. You just to wash that, you could get access to that. So any maintenance, or custodian can even get access to that. So as a quick recap, I want to leave some time for Jared. What do you get here? So unique design propositions. You get intelligently quiet design, right? You got the best indoor air quality for your students at the lowest possible sound. Guaranteed, bar none. Certified sound data. So we provide you the sound data results coming out of our software based on the design you selected, right? And this is coming from an AMCA accredited lab. In-house controls, right? We mount the controls for you if need be, and your school board is, or the school board is, dead set on, using, Delta controls or allergen controls or automated logic. They could send us their controls and we can mount them in our cabinet and provide wiring diagrams if need be, if it helps offset, helps make sure that the project management on the job, comes in nice and clean. Large piping offering, as I mentioned before, we have Y strainers, manual circuit balancing valves, control valves, etc. Two-way, three-way. You can even do it stainless steel offering if need be. We're innovator in unit ventilators, right? We combine the very best of sound, energy performance with the heat pump, energy recovery wheel, maintenance, excellent classroom AHU selection. We're launching actually a new AHU selection software that we could give access to those design engineers that need it or would like to play around with it. Lots of options and accessories, very configurable unit, and get the best of decentralized ventilation. And that's just a glimpse or a glimmer of our new Class 2.0 selection software. Easy selections, quick quotes, fast designs. It's all at your fingertips. And you get full data, full drawings, full mechanical schedule coming out of our software. And that's it, folks. This is the portfolio we're hoping to provide for schools, right? We just talked about freshmen, and then Jared will take it away with Geniox. Thank you all for listening.
So Amir, before Jared gets going here, we did have some questions that came up.
Sure.
So one is any hot gas reheat options, or is it limited to cooling, heating, and ventilation? Light load ventilation is a challenge in moderately humid climates. I think some of that question may have been addressed when we talked about the energy recovery options.
Was the question, sorry, just to clarify, is there any hot gas reheat options?
Yes.
Yeah, yes there is. Yes, so it's a hot gas reheat coil that we offer, and we laminate all the coils together. So whether it's the evaporator coil or if it's a cooling coil with a hot water coil, or a hot gas reheat coil. But yeah, on the package units, package system, we could offer a hot gas reheat, and it's a popular option for the Northeast, absolutely.
Okay. And then there's two more here. I assume the supply fan can run VAV to help with this, but this does not resolve humidity entirely. So it seems people are a little concerned about humidity with this unit.
Yeah, so that question, sorry, I didn't hear it fully in the beginning. You said it would combine with VAV, is that what it was saying?
Can the supply fan run in VAV?
Yeah, yes it can.
And then are the slide out modules available to be ordered as drop-in replacements? Are these supported for forever back compatibility as technology changes?
Ooh, very good question. So yes, we have actually had school boards or facilities managers or whoever it may be order some of these modules as backup. Absolutely, wherever they store it, it's up to them. But absolutely, you could order those and stock them and store them just for safety in case of a breakdown. Absolutely, we've had some people do that. I think the second half of the question was forever backward compatible. I don't like to use the term forever with the technology, but I mean, we've been around for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, so as long as you know, it's not a. I mean, we just had somebody cancel our gas module provider for a coil for the heat exchanger of the gas module. So there's always workarounds for fans. Fans, I don't think they're going anywhere. Energy recovery wheels, I don't think they're going anywhere. Actually, the energy recovery wheel comes from Air Exchange down in Massachusetts. So those products are readily available, right? As long as it's not like a phasing out technology like fossil fuels or something. Hope that answered that.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, all right, we can move on.
Hi there, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me and you can see the screen. My name is Jared Smith. I'm the product manager for commercial AHUs, commercial air handling units for the SystemAir North American group. I'm going to quickly shoot through some of the slides. I know that Amir has gone through most of the information, the background story about SystemAir, so I won't take too much longer to go through some of these, just so that we can obviously go through it and have a look and see. Why is this not working? Okay, so just so that you obviously know, as Amir mentioned, you know, we've been around since 1974, about 1.1 billion in turnover, and 6,800 employees that we obviously started with. SystemAir, we own our own production facilities, so we have 26 production facilities around the world. In those different production facilities, we obviously manufacture different components and products, ventilation products under the SystemAir and Fantech brands, as well as our air handling units under SystemAir and Menarga. We also have products which are called Frico on our air curtain side. Now, as SystemAir, and I know that Amir mentioned and touched on this as well, so we have a strong focus. So out of those 6,800 employees, which we have, 250 of them are strictly involved in the R&D and the development of products. We have 9 laboratory facilities around the world, and 3 of those are actually based here in North America. So in Lenexa, we do air and sound. We have a thermodynamic laboratory in Tilsonburg, and then an energy recovery lab in Boctouche as well. So SystemAir's key focus, and one of the things that we're trying to achieve as an organization, this is our CEO, Roland Casper, is that we're trying to create better air quality with lower energy use. I think that's obviously universal for everyone that we're trying to do. One of the things, and again, what we said is SystemAir has products in all these different application areas, so everywhere from a tunnel, swimming pool ventilation, data centers, marine oil and gas. We supply a lot of AHUs to the marine industry, where on all your cruise liners, we supply obviously a lot of air handling units to those out of our different facilities. And then the product groups, as you see, are obviously wide, and it's important to note that these are all SystemAir owned factories as well. So everything that we manufacture and sell as SystemAir is obviously wholly owned by us. It's not that we've gone out and obviously representing something else. For us here, obviously with the Buckley Association, which we have, it's going to be based on the air handling units. We don't bring everything into North America. It's obviously doesn't make financial sense for us. But the other thing from a SystemAir perspective is we thrive on openness, sharing the information. We have a very transparent way of doing business around the world. So selection softwares, documentation, these are all readily available to the actual partners who we work with. So not necessarily only the actual people that represent us, but also the consultants and the customers that are actually using these products and services. So selection softwares, you can download it. There's no password. You don't need a special dongle. You can actually get those. You can do the selections. You can export all the units out of that, the sequence of operation. Everything is shared with you. You don't need any special passwords or anything to use the actual programs. To get into what the actual, the core of the discussion is today is our SystemAir Geniox unit, which we term as our most flexible air handling unit. Again, when we were looking at all the different air handlers, we said, well, what makes a good air handling unit? And again, depending on who you ask this question to, as we said, from an end user's perspective, because if you ask a contractor what makes a good air handling unit, if you ask a consultant what makes a good air handling unit, everyone's going to have a different answer, right? It's going to be everything from dollar per CFM to indoor air quality. So from our perspective, the best way that we could define what makes a good air handling unit is the best possible indoor air quality with the lowest impact. So the best the most air using the least amount of energy. That's what we try to do. There's obviously other factors that influence that choice as well. You have to have an easy selection, has to be easy to buy, dependable, reliable, and then very important is low operational costs and low maintenance costs. Out of the 26 factories which SystemAir owns, we have 16 of them which manufacture various different types of air handling units around the world. Each time one of these factories was added into the SystemAir stable, different platforms was obviously brought in. And what we wanted to look at doing is we wanted to standardize, simplify that. So we brought all the best of all the different units which were manufactured in all 16 different factories, and then came up with the Geniox. So we wanted a high quality modular air handling unit which would be able to be flexible enough to suit every project's requirements based on what we already had within the group. So when we designed this, we designed the unit to have minimal energy losses with a durable design, has to be easy to configure with a selection program, and then easy to control and operate. So we took those three concepts and we based the Geniox unit on 3 pillars. So not just the actual unit itself, we wanted to look at a more solutions-based selling platform of what an air handling unit is. Otherwise, you just get into product sales. You know, this air handling unit is comparable to the next air handling unit. We wanted to take it further than that and not just get based on one product versus the other. So if we look at the actual unit itself and what defines it, we wanted it to be flexible, energy efficient, reduced operational costs, everything that we spoke about earlier. And this is the unit which we then basically came up with. This was the design of the unit which we have. Now, as a group, we manufacture about 8,000 of these Geniox units around the world as a group. We do have production here in Tilsonburg as well, where we manufacture exactly the same unit as well. The important thing to note is that I do understand, and if you look at the actual panels, you'll see a whole bunch of nomenclature behind that, TB2, T2, D1. Now, again, a lot of people will ask and say, what is the, why are you showing this? These are all the Eurovent certification details which classifies the unit. Again, I know that this means very, very little from a North American perspective. However, because the unit is designed and engineered within the European environment, basically you're going to get the European certification as a standard. So it's just a third-party view of how the unit is obviously certified. So the 60 mil insulation, and one of the things to just draw your attention to as well as the ZM310 corrosion class of C5. So all our units are manufactured with ZM310, which is a zinc magnesium steel. It has a combination of zinc and magnesium and aluminium coating, which gets put over the actual steel. And that, what it does, it has a self-healing property. So if you get any scratches or anything on it, it actually self-heals the metal. We also put a fingerprint coating over it so that you get a long life of that. So this is the best corrosion resistance that you can get of C5. And what that means is that you can put the unit installed in harsh environments. I was in Boston last week and I saw that it is pretty harsh out there. So you can install it. It's, your salt spray tests, all that information is available to you. You don't then have to epoxy coat or actually do any additional coating to the unit. We use it as is in our marine units already. So the steel that the unit comes out as is already, off the shelf, is going to give you all those benefits of the corrosion resistance. Unit, as we said, it's designed for intelligent ventilation. This is a standard AHU. These would be the layouts which you would see on all normal ventilation units. So your fans, your motors, and each one of these is then individually can be changed, and various components can be altered within the unit to give you the actual requirement that you need. So very, very high flexibility of the units. Geniox units which we have can handle airflows from 440 CFM to 65,000 CFM. And based on the modular design, you can have these standard, standard sections that can make it obviously, design exactly to your requirements that you have. The airflow ranges, again, like we'd like to show, from 440 CFM all the way up to 65,000 CFM. There is one thing that obviously I'd like to bring your attention to is as soon as we start getting to the bigger sizes of the unit, we do have our airflows from 20,000 to CFM. These are our big double stacked units, which you see over there, which has the wheel or the recovery in there as well. But however, if you do have a chilled water coil in there, normally myself, when we're designing the AHUs and we're specifying and working with it, we do like to keep that down to 500 to 550 feet per minute. I don't like to go over that myself because you are going to get some carryover off the coil. You can obviously extend that from 550. We would normally recommend that you put in a droplet eliminator. Once you start doing that, your airflow based on the actual available size that you have within the unit, your CFM for a chilled water coil will drop down to about 40,000 CFM. So if you're going to be just having a heating unit or a filter unit, 65,000 CFM or a recovery unit is not a problem. But if you've got a chilled water coil in there, you are going to be dropping down based on 500 feet per minute. Again, these can be tweaked and can be changed if you're wanting to go a little bit higher than that. But based on good engineering practices, we always kind of say that it's not good to go too high on the actual face velocity. Again, control system is the second pillar that we're looking at for the Geniox units. We do here in North America, we have a partnership where we use the Distec controllers. These are fully tested control systems. They're readily available in the North American market, BMS compatibility with BACnet. Having said that, this control system is a little bit archaic. It is an analog-based system as well. So, for those people who like the old Game Boys from the mid-90s, this fits very, very well. However, as all your younger engineers and everyone else moves in, everyone wants a new touchscreen, everyone wants an iPhone, everyone wants an iPad, and SystemAir has obviously evolved with that as well. So we have the SystemAir access control system as well, which comes in. Now, the reason that it is ERP compliant, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, is because in order to meet the ERP requirements from a European perspective, you have to be able to see and measure what the actual components within your air handling unit is actually achieving. So you do have to have two-way communication. It's no longer good enough to just have an analog system where you would send a signal to your actual component. So you're sending a 5-volt signal and you're hoping that you're actually getting that 5 volts running on the fan. What we use is that we use a Modbus system internally within the actual unit itself. So communication is two-way. So not only are you actually sending the information to the component, to the fan, or to the damper, etc., you're getting that information back as well. So when it comes to energy modeling, you'll be able to get the actual working points and the energy consumption of that specific component within the unit. When we look at the NaviPad itself, this is obviously which gets installed on the unit. I'd also like to let you know that this is an IP55 module, so it can be installed outdoor. It is waterproof. You have your home screen, your home page. You have your different user levels. So you have your end user, your operator, and then your service mode, and all your standard navigation modes that you would have with this. When the unit is configured and the sequence of operations are then selected from the actual selection program as well, it is uploaded to the SystemAir access control system. Once the unit is manufactured and the actual control system is made specifically for that unit, it is then uploaded to SystemAir Cloud. And then from there, if anyone goes in, for instance, and an end user, we all know sometimes we make mistakes and we will change temperatures or something happens and the unit stops working because some of the controls have been changed, you can go and download and obviously reinstall that selection program back to its defaults, and it will be installed for you. There's obviously the home screen with the home button, again very much iPad, resembling an iPad. Your dynamic flow charts, these are available to you, and these are obviously straight from the selection program based on what you've actually selected, and gives a real-time view of how the actual operation of the unit is going. So you have an ongoing live dynamic view of the unit in operation. Comes with all the standard accessories, for obviously to mount it up on the wall. You have your ergonomic design, Microsoft USB connector, and then the actual heart of the unit itself, which is designed by SystemAir. We obviously have easy connection to your external components. As I mentioned, it is an internal bus communication to the components so that you have that two-way communication. However, BACnet, all the additional protocols which you need in order to communicate to your BMS systems are available. The actual bus communication is just internal to the unit so that you can get that two-way communication, but BACnet, etc., and all the other protocols that you need are supported by the actual program itself. I would like to let you know as well is that in the SystemAir Geniox, you don't have to always take the control system from SystemAir. We have two different levels. You can either have controller ready, which would be wired into an analog, which means that you would have everything ready for for any controller to be installed within the unit. And then we have the SystemAir access. So you have those options available to you. You're never going to be pushed into a corner saying that you have to take this from us. We have all these options available to you. SystemAir CAD is the final pillar and something which we pride ourselves. SystemAir CAD as a company, we've been using it for over 20 years. So in the time that we've been using it, we've been building on it, trying to get it as user-friendly as possible. So within this program, you're able to configure your unit based on your optimal dimension of the actual functions that you need as well. All your documentation is included within the selection program itself. So you have your technical calculations, you have your control logics, as I mentioned. If you select the actual control system, you'll be able to select your sequence of operations, how you want that done. Your wiring diagrams are dynamic. You can export that to AutoCAD, 2D, 3D, as well as Revit for the actual program itself as well. So one of the questions that we get asked is, how many different options and functions can we have? As you can see, there are a myriad of different variations that you can have with this actual unit. So if we just look at, the different fan types, the filters, the heat recovery, everything that you have. I did try and actually calculate what that number was. It's more than 2.6 trillion. I didn't know offhand what it is, so you have to excuse me. I don't think I've seen a number that large. But those are the combinations that are possible from the Geniox selection program that you can actually get out of the unit itself. There is one thing to note as well, is that these combinations still has control systems and accessories. So that's excluding the control system and the accessories. Also, from a North American perspective, you will have the actual voltages available to you as well, which is another 3 options or combinations that we can multiply that by as well. You'll be able to get this unit in 208 3-phase, 460 3-phase, and if you do have any projects in Canada, you can get it for 575 3-phase as well. Now, this is a huge advantage because what we're finding is that some of our competitors, we're a Swedish-based company. We look at some of our other competitors which are based in Sweden. They sell units to you which are generally 400 volt, and then once the unit arrives on site, you have to scramble to try and find a transformer so that the unit would actually be able to transform it and put go from a 400 volt unit. So we'll actually have that. There's no surprises on site. You'll be able to control the unit and work from it without having to put any transformers in there. For the standards that we have for this unit, obviously the unit is tested according to EN 1886 because it is Eurovent certified. There's also very, very importantly on the gray column on the right, right at the back there's UL 1995, so the units are UL 1995 certified, as well as the new standard for AHUs, which is UL 6335-2-40, which was supposed to come into effect on the 1st of January. However, we've been given another year's grace. Nevertheless, our units are now certified to the new standards, so you don't have to worry about that. Then lastly as well, the units we have Eurovent certification for hygienic 1 and 2 star, as well as VDR 6022-1, which is the German hygienic standard. So what that means is that the units that you get, you can have those hygiene standards with as well. Here's the Eurovent certificate. Again, like I said, I know that it doesn't mean much here from a North American perspective. However, it is giving you certification that this is third-party done. We obviously have to do this from a group perspective. We don't sell 8,000 units here in North America yet. So, around the group, this is obviously, vital that we have our Eurovent certification. So you're going to get that, free of charge, I'd like to say. But hygienic by design is one of the things that I'd like to quickly touch on. What we do is we do supply numerous units for medical applications, clean rooms, hospitals around the world. So instead of actually having 2 separate lines within our AHUs, we would have a hygienic unit as well as a standard commercial ventilation unit. We decided to just give you a hygienic unit by design, even though it's actually not required. What that means is that all the sealants and the plastics within the unit will not have any bacterial growth properties on it. So it's a VDI certified sealant as well as the plastics. The unit can be cleaned, which means that all components can be slid in and out on rails. So from a service perspective or from a replacement perspective, all components can be cleaned. And then lastly, you're not allowed to have any sharp points or any cuts within the unit, which basically can then obviously make that the unit cannot be cleaned and maintained. So those are the general certification rules which we have from a VDI or from a hygienic perspective. And those are as standard within our actual units, right off the shelf. Efficiencies, one of the things that we believe is that we want to put the control in the hands of the actual consultants or the people that are designing their projects. So we never want to get to a point where we say, well, you can only get this or you can only get that. So for wheels, for instance, what we have is we have a myriad of different options from condensation to sorption, which are available to you on your wheels. You can have your different efficiencies as well as your variable constant speeds on those actual wheels itself. To be fair, for the rest of the world, it's always going to be a variable speed on your wheel. You know, obviously from a defrosting perspective, there are some markets within the SystemAir stable, in the Middle East, for instance, where they decide to go on a constant speed. But generally for the rest of the world, it's always going to be a variable speed. So we give you that option, but we would definitely recommend that you don't go for a constant speed on your wheel. Having said that, when you're designing a project, and the reason that we give you all these options is that you could get an efficiency as high as 83 or 84% on a wheel, but you don't necessarily, nothing in life is free. So once you're getting those high efficiencies, your pressure drops through the units are exceptionally high. You might not require 83%, you might only need 75%. So you would be able to reduce your efficiency maybe down to a class B or a C or even a D, and then have a less pressure drop through the actual unit, which means that your fans don't use as much energy as well. Again, these are all the options which we give and are available to you. Then one of the unique selling features which we have within our Geniox range as well is that instead of, if you do want to have a high efficiency wheel, we can just oversize the actual energy recovery component, which is either going to be a wheel or a core. Now that means that we can boost the efficiency by up to 3%, but what we're also doing is we're not adding the additional cost for that function as well. So this is great. It's a great differentiator. It obviously makes sure that you get as much efficiency out of the unit as possible. And I know that that's a huge talking point in Massachusetts at the moment. So this is a great opportunity by maximizing the efficiency of the wheels or your energy recovery devices as much as possible without killing it by oversizing the whole unit as a whole. Plate heat exchangers, I mean, you know, obviously these are the standard heat exchangers which we have out there. They're sensible as well as Enthalpy. Now, one of the things that I'd like to draw your attention to is obviously the counterflow heat exchangers, which are now available as well. And we can get our efficiencies as high as 85% on these counterflow exchangers. I would like to obviously bring to your attention though, is that because of the size of the actual counterflow heat exchanger, we're going to be limited to 12,000 CFM. The unit otherwise just becomes way too big and becomes oversized when it becomes too cumbersome to actually use. So we are going to tap out at about 12,000 CFM, but you get these huge efficiencies. Now for plate heat exchangers, as we all know, defrosting is a huge problem. There are lots of other systems and technologies out there. There's dual core, there's regenerative core, there's different ways where we could do it. One of the ways that we want to try and make sure that you get as much efficiency out of your core as possible at all times is we have section defrosting, which we can add on as an accessory to the actual core. What that does is it's dynamic defrosting. So that means that you're not flip-flopping the airstream every 60 seconds by default, whether or not you need to defrost or not. This is we put pressure sensors over each one of the dampers, which are individually controlled, and we would then measure the actual pressure drop through each one of those actual chambers to see what the actual pressure is on the frost buildup. Once we get to a section where we see that the frost is inhibiting the actual transfer of energy, we would then close that so that we can defrost, which means that the rest of the core still remains active. So you're continuously getting recovery on your core by dynamically defrosting. So if you don't need to defrost that core, don't defrost that core, keep it going so that you can keep your energy recovery as high as possible. We're seeing that we can run this down, and in the tests in the laboratories that we've had it in, we can run it down to about -13 Fahrenheit, so it's about -25 degrees Celsius. And that's where we're tapping out before you start needing supplemental heat to get that done. Another, obviously, energy recovery is runaround coil. Now, this obviously assists us where we can have, if you do have any clean rooms where you have to make 100% sure that you don't have any contamination of the airstreams, or you have your supply and exhaust in different locations, you can have the runaround coils installed as well. Now, obviously, this is the energy recovery here does obviously depend on your rows and your fins that you have within the actual coils. So your efficiencies can be all the way up to 70–75%, but again, that means that you need a massive coil, which adds pressure drop. So this is a little bit of an older school technology, but it is nevertheless still available to you if you have those requirements. Then the unit can be split. We obviously know, and as Amir was discussing earlier with schools, where we're doing a lot of retrofits. In the education market, retrofitting is obviously a huge application for us. So the unit can be split into various modules, not only vertically, but also horizontally. The only limitation that you're going to have is going to be on your fan size. That module is obviously going to determine how small you can split that unit. So that's going to be the only caveat that you have when it comes to splitting the unit. Other than that, it can obviously be broken down so that it can go through doors, up stairwells, etc., and then reassembled back on site. Again, as I've mentioned, and as Amir mentioned, SystemAir have been in the North American market for numerous years. We've been here since the mid-80s, in fact. SystemAir, Tilsonburg manufacturing, we've been manufacturing AHUs here since 2016 on the Geniox range. We have numerous references around the world. I've just put a couple down here. These are the units as you get. You'll see that this is it's like a gunmetal gray. That's the ZM310, the zinc magnesium that we use. There's the locating when we order it in different modules, how the modules will be put together and then bolted together. We have the fan sections. The fans have been removed out of this unit. So we took the fans out of this, but these are the fan sections where you have all the components, the Magni Healer gauges, etc., are all factory installed. Sight glasses. So these are some of the projects which we've obviously done for us here in North America. These are some of the projects which I've personally done. I was in the Middle East for 5 years. We supplied to the Sail Palace. Silver Beach Resort was just over 400 or just under 400 units, which we supplied to the Hilton. And then, like I said, some very big references around the world over and above our references as well, to let you obviously know. But again, hospitals, harsh environments in Norway, nothing too much lead time at this moment in time. It's about 18 weeks to site without controls. We do need a little bit of additional time, 24 weeks to site with controls included. When we move over to SystemAir Access, which is going to be in the next 2 to 3 months, that delivery time on controls will again drop down to about 22 to 23 weeks again. So that's us on the Geniox side. I do have a couple of additional slides on our smaller ERVs, but I know that we have run out of time, so I'll just leave it here for now.
All right, thanks, Jared. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I know I was having some audio issues earlier. So there were a few questions relative to the Geniox, and it looks like they're both centered around controls. Okay. So are the control unit components manufactured in the US?
No, they're manufactured in Sweden by head office. However, we do have UL approval on those components. We wouldn't be allowed to sell them without the UL approval, obviously.
Okay, and then the next one is relative to licensing. They're asking if it's a required part of SystemAir's control software.
So what we do is obviously the actual control system which we have is a SystemAir access control system. So everything that you get within that actual unit is, like I said, SystemAir owned. But sharing of the information, it's an open source, it's HTML, so you can go in and change it as required. But again, if, like I said, that's the way that we sell it, based on our system. If you don't need it, again, there's a lot of other controls companies which have that backup and the support. When we were in Massachusetts last week, that was one of the questions that we got. By all means, we can install anyone else's control system, or we can supply a two-site controller ready, so that in an analog way.
Okay, great. And then the next question is BABA compliance on the AHU/DOAS assembly possible?
I must be honest, I don't want to sound foolish. I don't know what BABA compliance is. I apologize.
I actually don't either, so that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, Build America, Buy America.
Oh, yeah, okay. So what we have is we obviously don't have the full compliance. We can supply, because the unit isn't 100% assembled in the US, we don't use the US steel, but we do have, it's a Build America, but not Buy America. We have Build America, but not Buy America. We comply to Build America, but not Buy America.
Okay.
So we have that certification, yes.
Got it. Thank you. I think that was it for questions. Thank you everyone for joining. If you do have any questions as you're thinking about this stuff, please reach out to myself or anyone on the Buckley team. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this equipment or help you with any applications you may have. We'll follow up to all attendees with the information that was presented here today. So be on the lookout for that. And if anything comes up, just let us know. And thank you to Jared and Amir for presenting today. Have a good afternoon, everyone.